Hi, friends. Dave Tomsick here and Sue Taylor. We're about to do an interview with Lynn here at the All About Books bookstore. We'll see you inside. Okay, Lynn, we're glad you took time to do this interview with us. We've been setting this up for quite a while since our investigation here with Ken Smith
Back in October.
back in October.
It's been a while. Yeah.
But thank you so much for opening up your shop to us. We love this place. And folks, you're in the area, All About Books is the place to be. And of course, mention to Lynn that you heard about it with Nights Around the Fire.
And you guys are on the Pittsburgh Bookstore crawl this year.
We are. We're very excited.
That's
That is
fantastic.
super exciting.
In July. Yeah. We're getting some graphics going and some
Excellent. So
action.
if you were hitting up the bookstore crawl this year, come and check out Canonsburg and come see Lynn at the bookstore.
Do that. Let's start, Lynn. Why you wanted to open a bookstore in the first place?
Never wanted to in my life. Never gave it a thought.
Really?
Yeah. Thomas and I both, my partner, we never gave it a thought about opening a bookstore. We had a couple dreams of things that we talked about. But he started repairing books as a hobby, fixing his own books, because we're both readers, we're both book collectors. So he was looking at his books and saw a lot that needed to be fixed, decided to teach himself how to fix his books. This was during COVID when there was nothing else to do.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. What did I do during COVID? When he moved up here, we thought about offering the book repair services to other people because he had done it for a couple of years and he was getting pretty good at it. So we made up business cards. We joined the Chamber of Commerce. We went to a Chamber of Commerce mixer and started talking to people about our book repair business. And good old Lisa Scarmazzi walked up to me. I was talking to her about the business, what we could do to get it going. And she said, "Have you ever thought about opening a bookstore? Would you be interested? We want a bookstore in Canonsburg." And I went, "Yeah." And Thomas was across the room. I said to him across the room, and I've done this before over other things like puppies. But I said to him, "Thomas, would you want to open a bookstore in Canonsburg?" And he went, "Yeah." And it was literally that simple. We did a little research. We met the owner of the building. We toured the building, fell in love with it, figured out that we were there was no other bookstore in Washington County, which is huge. Did some, YouTube videos on people who had opened bookstores, figured out what it would take, what are the challenges, what are the rewards. And the more we learned about it, the more we were like, yeah, this is something we wanted to do. Lisa Scarmazzi, that conversation with her was in late November, I believe it was. We met Tony Calazo, the owner of the building, in January. We took the keys in March and we opened in May.
We remember that opening.
Yeah, I remember I came down here. I was walking somewhere else and I saw your sign on the door that you guys were opening, and I just about lost my mind. We're getting a bookstore in Canonsburg. This is amazing.
Which is exactly the reaction we would have had if we wouldn't have been the ones opening the bookstore.
Right.
Yeah. Because used bookstores is definitely our thing.
Yeah, you guys are a used bookstore, and you do
Yes.
take books if people have some that they want to bring in.
We do, yes.
And if they need a little bit of repair, Thomas would be more than happy to repair them.
The book repair business actually really took off the minute we opened the door.
Wow.
And it's been nonstop since then with a backlog of books constantly.
So you opened up, and I guess, Sue, we can go down this road right now. When did you first find out the place was haunted?
I didn't really think of it as being haunted, but there were a few things that happened that made me just go, And it really wasn't until we opened in May. In October, with the Merchants Association here in town, we were talking about doing paranormal investigation. No, it was before that, before the Merchants Association got involved. A local ghost hunter came in to me and proposed us doing a paranormal investigation in this building and doing a little walking tour. And that's when I met Ken Smith. Ken came into the building like gangbusters, like Ken does.
Yeah.
And started asking me questions about anything that's happened in the store. And so that's when I started thinking, okay, this has happened, and I got Ken's input. One thing that I remember specifically from that first visit with Ken is in my kids section over there, I had a little section of Christian kids books. And I swear every morning when I came in, those books were knocked over. I can almost remember looking and seeing that those books were upright when we left at the end of the day. But in the morning, sure enough, they were knocked over. So I told Ken about that, and he said, that's not good. And I said, yeah, I don't think that's good either, that they're picking on the Christian books. So he went over there, he set up a couple little pieces of equipment. He talked to the spirits and said, look, hey, we're sorry we're invading your space. We're friendly. We don't want to bother you. Can you quit knocking over the books? And it's never happened again.
Wow.
Okay.
That was my first little inkling.
Just for those of you who don't know, who haven't saw or seen our channel yet, we've done a video from this store with Ken Smith, basically doing an investigation. You can go on our YouTube channel, Nights Around the Fire, and find it. Also in this store, we did basically some time with Ken showing all of his equipment, all his ghost hunting, paranormal searching equipment. Very good video. Check that out as well. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. This store had a lot of surprises for us when we came in.
It really did. And so this place, from what I heard that night, it used to be a club of some sort, correct?
It was called the Yorick Club, Yorick. The only thing I've been able to find about that is it was a young men's club, and the Jefferson College Historical Society had one picture they showed me of supposedly the young men in the Yorick Club. I read somewhere that there was another Yorick Club somewhere else, and one of the things they did some fundraising, and one of the things they did for fundraising was put on plays. Well, the picture that I saw was some of the young men dressed up in what looked like costume and what definitely was blackface. So I'm assuming that was something to do with a performance or something that they did. But it's like a secret society. It's mentioned in some of the historical books that we have, but nobody ever says anything about what it really was. But they were on the second and third floor, and the picture that the Historical Society showed to me was clearly the third floor of this building. You could tell.
One thing I remember from the night that we were here was in the first group that we had children in the group.
Yeah.
And we kept asking it if it liked having the kids here, and it kept saying no. We kept getting the no answer. Mm-hmm. And we kept asking, do you want the kids to leave? And it kept saying yes. So my friend mentioned to me afterwards, she had been downstairs with the group that was downstairs. We were doing that. She said, maybe it was because that club, the ghosts knew that the kids weren't supposed to be in here.
Right. Yeah.
Not child friendly. Yes. That's never good. So a secret club, basically a club that really no one wants to talk about.
Yeah.
Not like the Hellfire Club.
Well, not like the Hellfire Club in Ireland, but definitely something no one wants to talk about, which means there probably was something else going on here, I would assume. And of course, we had a lot of interesting feedback during that time.
Yes.
What else, I think, Sue? We also talked about some ancient, well, should I say, World War I and II people. We had Civil War, Revolutionary War.
We also had spirits that wanted to talk about the Black Hand,
Yes.
which was the local Mafia group in Canonsburg, which we are going to do a deep dive into next week on next week's episode. But that was an interesting piece of Canonsburg's history that we got that night.
It seems like that was about the same time that you and I got the cold spot.
Yeah.
Up there.
For anybody who hasn't heard, I don't think we put that into our last video. Lynn and I got hit with a cold spot on the second floor that was unlike anything I have ever felt before.
Yeah. It was very obvious. Neither one of us said anything at first, but yeah.
You said something, and I went, oh, I'm so glad you said it, because I feel it too.
It was just so cold. I had to say, oh, man, I'm freezing. And she piped up, and I went, okay.
Yeah, that's something. That's definitely something.
Yeah.
That happened to be the center of quite a few questions during that time with the group we had upstairs. And the Black Hand was notorious in this town. Again, a lot of people don't talk about it, but it was part of the town's history. I know that I had received a jumpsuit after dating a girl back in the 70s. And her grandfather was a full Italian, gave me this jumpsuit. When my mother saw it, she made me burn it. She says that was the Black Hand.
Wow.
So you see how, even though it might not have been, she remembers back in the day when it was something to fear in this area.
Well, it's interesting that that did come up in a building that I currently house in, because my family had, we think, a very big connection with the Black Hand.
Tell us more.
We've heard these stories for years in our family. My grandparents, my paternal grandparents, my father's parents, emigrated to Canonsburg from Italy back in the early 1900s. Grandpa came over first. They were married, I believe, in 1902. Grandpa started coming over a few years after that. He went back and forth for several years until I believe it was 1912 was his last trip back to Italy. And in 1913, Grandma then came with 3 little girls that they had had in Italy. Interestingly, every time Grandpa went home to Italy, there was another little girl that popped out 9 months later, So you can correlate. I actually have the dates, supposedly, of when he went home and when the girls were born. It's kind of interesting. So, and the interesting thing is, he was Sicilian. She was from Calabria. And if you read the history of the Black Hand, they came to the United States from Sicily, Calabria, and Napoli. So they were right in the location where it started in Italy. It kind of makes sense that there was a connection once they came to the United States. But nobody ever said anything about Grandma and Grandpa being involved, but there was an issue with another family in town that they were kind of rivals with, that one of the brothers was killed by the Black Hand, and that has always been talked about in the family. Well, Grandma and Grandpa ended up selling their oldest daughter to this family to marry one of the sons, and it was because there was some kind of rivalry going on. She was only 14 years old when she was sold to this family. And they moved to Baltimore and never returned to Canonsburg because he was afraid to come back here, because he was afraid of the Black Hand here in town.
Wow.
So we always knew that part of it. And that was the days when the Black Hand were hanging people and extorting money from people. And the other thing I always knew about Grandma and Grandpa is they made illegal booze during Prohibition. Something I've heard from childhood. My father was the youngest child. He was born in 1925. Prohibition was 1920 to 1933. So when he was so little, he was able to get into the crawl spaces in the house. And he remembers as a toddler, probably, getting into the crawl spaces to hide the hooch from whoever might be looking for it, that Grandma was making in the bathtub. And Grandpa, I don't know how involved he was was supposedly a coal miner.
Yeah.
Grandpa,
Everybody was.
Everybody was a coal miner, yeah.
I actually have copies of 2 articles, one when Grandma was arrested and one was when Grandpa was arrested.
Wow.
The Grandma was arrested in association with some other women who were also running hooch in town. She tried to hide her whiskey, but she failed to get rid of all of it before the police snatched her. Now, the story we always heard was Grandpa actually went to jail for her because she had to stay home and finish taking care of the kids. I don't know what year that is. There was another article where Grandpa was arrested in his home for illegal beer, moonshine, and wine, all 3 of them. But he also had an additional bounty put on his head because of illegal firearms in the house. So I'm not sure why Grandpa would have had illegal firearms in the house unless he was okay. So I never associated that liquor making with the Black Hand until my sister and I went to a little lecture at the senior center about the Black Hand that somebody did last year. And they started talking about how violent they were, and they were extorting money from people, from the Italians specifically.
They had their hand in everything.
And then when Prohibition came along, they figured out they could make a whole lot more money with illegal booze than they ever could extorting money from the Italian immigrants.
Yeah.
So they got into the illegal booze business. Well, it happens that both, when Grandma and Grandpa were both arrested, they had $500 bail money that was paid. My grandparents wouldn't have had $500.
It's a lot of money back then.
Yeah.
To pay their bail. Who paid their bail? And all of a sudden a light clicked in my head and I went, oh my God, their hooch making was probably for the Black Hand. And they paid their bail money. It just, and then I started looking at the dates of when everything happened and I'm like, it really started to make a little sense to me. And how they got away with being able to produce the alcohol with, if the Black Hand was truly in charge of that. The only way you could have gotten away with it, especially if you were arrested and everybody knew.
Yeah, it was by the Black Hand.
Was they worked for them.
A little bit of dark history here in Canonsburg for sure. And folks, if you enjoy this stuff, stay tuned. By the way, if you like our content here, please consider subscribing right now.
Squash that like button.
And share the video with as many people as you can. Don't forget, if you're from the tri-state area, and a lot of our viewers are, please come into Canonsburg Thursday nights once a month. They have a market down at the square here.
They're painting a beautiful mural.
There's a beautiful mural being painted. And stop in to see Lynn here at All About Books. You can't miss it. It's right next to the parking lot. It's right in the middle of town. And there's a lot here that you can take a look at and buy if you enjoy reading, if you enjoy fiction, nonfiction, whatever, it's here. And we, of course, want to support our local businesses in this town. And we know there's a lot of people not far to get here from Butler or from Fayette or from Greene County. Stop up to Canonsburg. Things are going on all summer. And the 4th of July, 250-year celebration and parade will be here as well. Anyway, let's get back to interview with Lynn here. So the Black Hand did play a big part in the history here. It just wasn't a lot told to us when we grew up. We heard bits and pieces. Now, our kids probably heard very little from there. But it was the kids that kind of got the message from the investigation we did here with the Black Hand. It was the kids that got the knowledge from it, and it was amazing because what would they know?
Yeah, it was very interesting because I don't feel like the Black Hand is really one of those things that's talked about like a lot in town. Like you might hear the conversation about the Morgan building or like some of the other hauntings in town, but not everybody knows about the Black Hand. So for that to just suddenly pop up on a random Thursday night, that was interesting.
Yeah. So Lynn, I know after the investigation, there was a lot of things happening here. Since the investigation, has anything changed? Have you had any more odd things occur here?
No, I don't think we've had more. I don't think we've had less. We have the random, I don't hear noises necessarily. A lot of people ask me about that. But books definitely get moved on the shelves.
That's their thing.
Yeah.
That is their thing in this building. Whether it's because they like the books or they don't want books in this space, I don't know what it is.
Maybe they're just making suggestions. Maybe they're like, oh, nobody's going to look at that over there. Let's put it over there.
It is strange stuff. And we had one person during Oktoberfest last year report to us that up on the second floor, somebody knocked a book off a shelf. Something knocked a book off a shelf and made her spill her beer. I think she was just drunk, but there was definitely a whole beer spilled all over the floor up there. We thought it was funny.
Maybe one of the ghosts from the club was up there and was like, there's a woman up here drinking a beer? That's terrible.
That's
unheard of.
Get out of here. Yeah.
We know that this town has a lot of buildings that have had paranormal activity. Your neighbor across the street.
I love to watch her lights dance over there.
Tell that story. What about the lights?
It was something I didn't know that she knew about over there, but one day we just looked out the front window and her lights were flashing kind of in a rhythm. It wasn't just steady. It kind of changed. It was like a disco light almost. And here to find out from her that her lights do flash with the music that she plays sometimes.
She does my hair, and I have also seen that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, can confirm.
I know they have checked it out with electricians and others, and they can find, just for the record, folks, they cannot find anything wrong with the wiring. It is up to code. It is something, should I say it? Paranormal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's funny, when we were doing one of the paranormal walks this past fall, as we were walking by her building, the little globe lights started just flashing as we were walking by.
That's
I'm like,
really cool.
oh, we're going to be back there later.
That's really cool.
Right, and for those of you that don't know, besides the Morgan building that Sue mentioned, which was one of our older buildings,
Yes.
we also did a video at the Collective right down the street, another business that has had some paranormal activity. I believe in the video we've shown orbs flying around her main lobby there. Very interesting. And again, Canonsburg is a town that has very historic roots, does it not?
Oh, absolutely. We're doing historical walking tours now, as a matter of fact. And even though it's not a haunted walk, people always ask me, are any of these buildings haunted? Because of the history. Because Canonsburg has been here since the 1770s. So everybody is talking about the big America 250 this year. And the beginnings of Canonsburg were here at the same time that the Declaration of Independence was being signed. So
there's a lot of history.
We go back there.
Yeah.
And of course, with any town, there's always going to be, I believe, and Ken has said this as well, paranormal activity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about the history tours that you guys are having now, people can come take those.
Yes.
But are we thinking if people want to come hear the haunted stories come October? Or are we talking about doing those again?
We're planning on doing things in October again, including paranormal investigations.
Excellent. So yeah, stay tuned. You guys can come and hang out and experience the town.
We're hoping to get into the Morgan building this year too. We haven't done it yet.
Right. We found sometimes a little persuasion is needed. Yeah. A lot of people don't feel comfortable telling others that their building might be haunted.
Yes. Yes.
But in this town, I don't know why that would be, because again, as you said, Lynn, this is a very historic town with a lot of history. Some of it dark.
Yeah.
Some of it dark, and the town for pretty much is as old as this country.
Yes.
And I'm sure there's a lot of things we still don't even know, but we love history as well, and we know that you and Thomas love history.
Yes.
And we appreciate that, because in many of the videos, and many of you might have seen this, that we do a lot of, should I say Sue does a lot of investigation and has a lot of history behind it. And I think that's also educational, but it's nice to know where your roots really lie.
So just to put it kind of in perspective, this building was built in 1872, which is not long after the Civil War.
Wow.
That really puts it in perspective.
So who built this particular building?
I don't know, and I haven't been able to find that out, and it's driving me crazy.
Okay, because it's known as this is the Calazio building officially in town.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. There's two conflicting stories that I've been able to find in some of the historical documents I've looked at. It was either built as the Weaver building or the Ritchie building. Ritchie was a big name back in those days. They did a lot of dry goods and department stores, and they built several buildings in town. Weaver, I haven't been able to find anything about. But one picture calls it the Weaver building. It was built when it was built, and some the Ritchie building. I know it was called the Johnson building in very early 1900s because Johnson's jewelry store was here.
Okay.
And at that time, I think it was actually Weaver Johnson building. It still had that Weaver name, but I haven't been able to pin down where the Weaver came from. I know the history after that, pretty much. There were never apartments upstairs. It was always businesses or the Uric Club.
This Uric Club kind of got me thinking now. What was it really all about? Mm-hmm. And what were their plays about? I mean,
Yeah.
Where they were in blackface, and what were they really doing here? And there are a lot of clubs, and were a lot of secret clubs
Yes.
throughout. And of course, let's be honest, a lot of conspiracy theorists would say there's a lot of these special secret societies around, especially throughout the 17 and 1800s. Mm-hmm. The Masons being one of them.
Mm-hmm. Masons were pretty big in this area.
Yeah.
And still are.
Yeah.
So is there anything else you think about the town and is related to the paranormal? Do you think people are interested? I know we think they are, but do you see that people ask more and more about it now?
Yes. Yeah. People, even people who just come in here to the bookstore, they ask, "Is this building haunted?" people who are sensitive to paranormal activity have made comments about just walking up and down the street in certain buildings. They can definitely feel some things. So it's here, and every investigation that we've done since just the last couple of years I've been involved with them, there's always a lot of activity.
So what's your favorite haunting here? Your favorite experience that you've had?
Like I said, it's just been little subtle things. I think the best was the cold spot that we felt.
That was
because, Ken and some of the other people have always talked about cold spots and how significant they are. And they're not a good thing when you feel a cold spot. It's not a good thing from the paranormal side of things. And so when that happened to us together, because I thought if I was just cold, it was no big deal. But as soon as you said it, I was like, oh no.
You were there. You watched our reactions to it.
Yes. It was, you could definitely tell that something happened. You could definitely tell. Then you said there's a cold spot, and nobody else felt it but you two.
Yeah. I mean, the hairs were really raised, and
it went deep into me. And then, when you get cold and your body does that thing where it's trying to shiver and warm itself up, and then it stops shivering, but then it starts again because it's trying to decide if it's hot or cold. My body was actually doing that afterwards.
Yeah, it provoked a reaction, and of course we had two investigations going on at the same time that night.
We were stirring things up.
Yes, we did.
And I know there was a lot of questions from our group, and we had a lot of very, very, very strange answers.
Yeah.
Yes.
And of course, getting into the black can out of nowhere. There are people that feel that just walking down the street, as you mentioned, and I think you had one investigator feel that as well, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That you can tell that this place has got activity.
You can pick up those spots.
I don't know that people realize this. I'm going to bring this up right now, that there weren't funeral homes in the past.
Right.
So they had the carpenters, right? The people that were woodworkers. Is that how the story goes?
Yeah. And it goes all the way back to the 1700s when the population started to build here, of course, and people started dying. Very early, and this was a pioneer town, remember. It's just it was exactly the way you picture the Wild West pioneer town, with the dirt streets and the timber buildings and horses and buggies and dirt and mud and all of that. Way back in the beginning, people just laid you out in your home and built a simple box, if you were lucky, or wrapped you in linen and put you in the ground. Well, as the population started growing and this area really started to prosper in the 1800s, the college was the biggest reason. It was a college town, and people were coming from all over to go to college here. So it started really getting fancy around here. And so the furniture makers started making the caskets and the coffins, and they also offered funeral services at the same time. And there were a few people that were doing a little bit of undertaking or preserving the bodies. And then in the 1800s, they actually started going, the late 1800s, really mid to late 1800s, started going to school to learn actual embalming and undertaking. But it was still all the furniture stores were the undertakers. And the building where Trendy is right now was the first elevator in town, because they were one of those businesses and they needed an elevator to move the caskets and the bodies up and down in the building. It was a water-powered elevator.
Wow.
There wasn't even electricity.
That's
when
really
they
cool.
installed that.
Of course, Trendy is got some things to go on there.
Oh, I'm sure.
They do have some things that go on there. Hopefully we'll get into Lay's at Trendy. Katie, Georgianne, we want to come see you guys.
Yeah, we want to see you.
The elevator's still there. Get there soon, because I heard they are going to remove it from the building.
Oh, yeah, we got to get that on film.
Elevator
We need to see that.
is still there.
Yeah, we need to go see that.
And that building was built in around 1900 after the Great Fire, which is another big story in Canonsburg.
We talked a little bit about that with Megan. So basically it was only from here down to
Actually, about the
Jefferson.
middle of the Midtown parking lot where the old Royal Grill was, if
Yes.
anybody remembers.
I remember the Royal
It's
Grill. Good food.
Yeah, from about where the Royal Grill was, all the way down to Jefferson, all the way back to the creek or the railroad tracks. And I haven't been able to get a real clear picture of how far up West Pike Street beyond Jefferson it went. I don't think it went very far that way. But it didn't cross the street. They were able to keep it on this side of the street. But everything was flattened by that fire within that area.
So everything had to be rebuilt after that time.
Yep, so every building on this side of the street, from Rusty Gold down to the corner, was built from, the fire was 1898. So all of those buildings were built from 1899 to about 1904.
And that was, so there were 26 people killed at the Morgan Building incident, but no one was
died
killed in the fire.
2 horses, unfortunately, perished, but no people.
No people were
Yeah.
killed in the fire.
Wow. Again, history.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of
history.
it.
You know, I just want to say this. I think there isn't enough emphasis put on local history in our own schools. I think there's so much rich history here that related to the Civil War and things after what happened, even though, you know, people sort of write it all off. But I think people have to realize that every town has its mysteries, has its history, has
And
its
it has
legends.
its tragedies.
And it has its tragedies. So, folks, wherever you're at, dig deep into your town. And if you find something that is of interest to us here on Nights Around the Fire, send us an email. That's strangeworlds777 at yahoo.com. We'll put that right here on the page. If you want to comment with Lynn, let Sue know. We'll get that message to Lynn if you want to ask a question. And remember, if you enjoy our content, like, subscribe, and share. And we might as well throw it in. Squatch.
Watch the like button. Join our paranormal group, the Canonsburg Paranormal Discussion.
We want to thank all those new people who did join that. Thank you so much. Lynn, let's finish up the interview. What do you like about Canonsburg and being a bookshop owner now?
I grew up here in Canonsburg. Went to high school here, went to Pittsburgh to go to college, and then left the area. I couldn't wait to get out of this area as a teenager. But you have to remember that was the late 70s when this area was really depressed. And that's one of the things we talk about in the historical walking tour is the ebb and flow of Canonsburg over the years. But I lived many places. I always came home to Canonsburg to visit family and for the 4th of July. My kids know a lot about this area. And when I got to a certain age, I just wanted to come home again. And when I came home, I remembered what was wonderful about Canonsburg and this area, not what I didn't like when I was a stupid 18-year-old, you know. It's just the best people. There's history, there's culture coming to town, there's a lot here, but it's the people, definitely, that make Canonsburg special. And to be a business owner in this community one of the things we never expected was the response from the community about having a bookstore in the community. Now, I remember as a kid and a teenager how much I loved the bookshop that was down the street.
Right.
I'll forever remember the bookshop and the memories it brought for me. And that's what we're building here for this generation now, is those memories that I remember from a kid at the bookshop. It's having a local hometown bookstore in town.
Wow.
Yeah.
We appreciate that too. We're glad you're here.
Canonsburg's a great place. Like, you can actually, when I moved back here, you couldn't do as much in Canonsburg, but now you can come down. So invite you guys to come down, spend a Saturday down here, get some lunch at Rusty Gold, come to the bookstore, come to Trendy, go over to the Collective. You can do lots of things here. So
Get a soda.
hang out in town. Yeah, we're gonna do our episode wrap up down there.
Yeah, we're going to Grandpa Joe's Soda Factory down the street here. Things are growing, and again, we wish you the best of luck, Lynn.
Thank you.
Your business is wonderful. We love it. We always make sure we promote it, and we love coming here to talk to you and to Thomas and to Michelle, and it's just a nice place to visit and to hang out. It's a great place to hang out.
Yes.
Yeah, if you're a local writer and you want to come here, Lynn would be happy to have you sit. shop for a little bit.
Right. Outside of that, folks, we're glad you joined us today. We're going to be posting this, and I hope that, again, you respond with some emails, strangeworlds777@yahoo.com. And don't forget to join our Facebook friends. And of course, we always want to hear your stories from your town. And if you're in the southwestern PA area, come visit Canonsburg. Come visit us on the 4th of July on basically when we have our markets in the square here. I believe that's the name, Markets in the Square.
It's Thursday night market.
Thursday night markets. I was almost right.
Yeah.
And
Almost.
Oktoberfest will come in
And
the fall.
Oktoberfest. There's a lot here. Lynn will be open.
Yes.
The store will be open.
Yeah.
And there's plenty to buy here, plenty to do.
Just hold on to your beer.
Yeah.
Hold on to your beer. And if you get approached by a shadowy figure,
Yeah.
say hi
Yeah.
from Nights Around the Fire. So again, we'll see you next time. Don't forget to check out our YouTube site and binge watch all of our videos. We know you Bigfoot hunters are waiting for another Bigfoot video.
It's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming.
And we are going to give you what you really want there. We know a lot of people love Bigfoot in this area, and we're going to give it to you guys. So see you next time right here on Nights Around the Fire. Check it out.